Hi guys, long time no see. Just kidding, you're probably watching these videos back to back. In our previous video, we talked about the characteristics that make an arthropod an arthropod. We said there were 4 of them. Say them with me. Jointed limbs, exoskeleton, well-developed nervous system, segmented body with a head, thorax, abdomen. Crushing it. What I'd like us to do now is look specifically at these different groups within this arthropod phylum. There's some pretty cool pieces of variety in it, which I think is worthwhile to look at. So we're going to continue the same notes that we just left off with. We don't need to retitle, we don't need to redate or repage, but let's put a heading in our notes that says something like Arthropod Classification. And we're going to look at 4 different groups within this arthropod phylum here today. Before we do that, let's flip to our back page, that orange, salmon, whatever color sheet this is. And in our second to last little bit here, we're going to write phylum Arthropoda, because that's where we are here. Arthropoda is a fancy way just to say arthropods. I put it because I thought it was cool, but then in parentheses next to it, I wrote arthropods. And you'll notice that there are 3 bullet points underneath, and you'll notice that there are 4 arrows on my screen here. It's because I messed up. I made a typo. That's my bad. We should have 4 bullet points here on this orange sheet because there are actually 4 groups within this invertebrate phylum. So under phylum Arthropoda or phylum Arthropod, let's put 4 bullet points. One that says centipedes and millipedes, one that says crustaceans, one that says arachnids, and then I had to put it over here because I forgot the bullet point, one that says insects. But these are the 4 different groups that are going to make up our arthropods. And when we think about it, there's some wide variety in this group, right? Imagine what a spider looks like as to compare to something like a crab. Those are very different, even though they both fall into the same phylum. So we're going to start with some of my favorite creatures. I'm sure some of your favorite creatures too. These guys are in phylum Arthropoda because they have those 4 characteristics of arthropods. Jointed limbs, exoskeleton, well-developed nervous system, segmented body with specialized parts. What we're looking at here are centipedes and millipedes. Give yourself a quick quiz here. How do you tell the difference between a centipede and a millipede? I'll give you a hint. This one right up top is a centipede, and this one down here is a millipede. Did you figure it out? It's the number of legs per segment. So your centipedes have fewer legs total. They have 1 leg per segment, whereas your millipedes have more legs. They have 2 legs per segment. So if we flip back here, we can see this guy's got 2 legs attached to this one segment, whereas this guy's only got 1 leg attached to each segment. If that's how we can tell the difference, what is this guy here? Also a millipede. How about this one? A centipede. How cool. But these guys here are kind of cool. They, again, have those 4 characteristics of all arthropods. In addition, they have 1 set of antennae and 1 pair of mandibles. And then just an extra cool fact, because I think it's funny, these guys have really hard heads. Their exoskeleton that's developed around their brain is like really, really thick as compared to the rest of their body. Why do you think that might be the case? Something to think about. I'm moving away because they're kind of boring. Next group that we're going to look at are going to be our crustaceans. Crustaceans make up a huge group, right? They're things like crabs or lobsters or prawns, typically things that tend to live in the ocean. Shrimps, barnacles, like that you see growing on ships and stuff, those are technically an arthropod. How nuts is that? Lobsters, crabs, they mostly live in the water, and they have gills to help them breathe. If we're looking for some other features here, again, we can see those jointed legs. We can see that hard exoskeleton. We know there's a big old brain in there. This guy here has a head. Here's his thorax. Here's his abdomen. He has those specialized parts. We're also going to see 2 pairs of antennae. This guy has a longer set here and then a shorter set. And they're also going to have a pair of mandibles. It's kind of hard to see in this picture, but it would be tucked in this way. We'll actually dissect a crayfish later on, which is a type of arthropod that is like a mini lobster in a lot of ways. You'll be able to see all these features. They're also going to have those compound eyes living on little stalks, kind of like Mr. Krabs, right? He's got like, they kind of like pop up, meaning there's like a stick and then the eyeball on top, which allows them to kind of like swivel their heads around a little bit to see some things better. So 2 pairs of antennae, 1 pair of mandibles, and then eyeballs on stalks, which is kind of cool for our crustaceans. Next group we're gonna look at are gonna be our arachnids. These are things like spiders and scorpions and mites and ticks. Looking at these guys, you might notice that they do indeed have segmented legs, a hard exoskeleton, but it's a little bit trickier to see the specialized parts on their body, like the head, thorax, and the abdomen, because these guys don't actually have it. They're kind of a special sneak away in the rule here. They have what's called a cephalothorax, which means that their head and their thorax is combined into one part, and then their abdomen makes up the rest of their body. So if we look at this guy here, here's the cephalothorax. It's the head thorax combined, and then the abdomen underneath. And attached to the cephalothorax, we tend to see 4 pairs of legs, 1, 2, 3, 4, which gives them a total of 8. Right here's 8 legs, 8 legs, 8 legs. These guys are also special because they are, again, missing some of those features that we tend to associate with arthropods. They don't have antennas. They don't have mandibles. They have clicerae instead, which are they're like mandibles, but are more pinchery. And they also have simple eyes that are not compound, which is kind of a unique thing here. But they're still going to be classified as arthropods because they've got the jointed legs, the exoskeleton, well-developed nervous system. And then they basically have the segmented body bit. Last group for us here today is our biggest group of any animal around. These guys make up like 90% of all animals, and they are insects. It's a little bit tricky to look at them and try and find our arthropod features because there's such variety within this group. Right, we've got these funky beetles, we've got a ladybug, we've got a bumblebee. But if we look closely, we can see that they do indeed have jointed legs. They have a hard exoskeleton. They have a segmented body. Here's the head, thorax, abdomen, and they do have a well-developed nervous system that allows them to sense and respond to change in the environment. And your insects are huge. There are so many insects. You walk outside and you're insect overloaded. And they've populated everywhere on the world except for underwater. They can't live underwater because they don't have gills. But they live in places that are cold, places that are warm, places that are dry, places that are really wet. They have really adapted to life on land. For the most part, they tend to have 6 legs. And those 6 legs are going to be on the thorax part. And if they have wings, those wings are going to also come out of the thorax, which is kind of cool. So like the butterfly's wings come out of this little black piece under here. Or here you see the bumblebee with his wings attached to the thorax. All right. They tend to also have 2 pairs of antennae, 1 pair of mandibles. I don't want to keep calling mandolins. Mandibles. And then they also have 2 compound eyes. Not necessarily on stalks. They're more attached to their heads. Last piece for us here, what I want us to start thinking about is this big change that we're seeing with our invertebrates. So far, again, as a reminder, we've talked about invertebrates that live in the water. And they use the water as a way to support their body structure because they don't have a backbone. But when we look at our arthropods, a lot of them have really well adapted to life on the land. So I have this video here that I'd like you to watch. This video is about the evolutionary changes that arthropods have adapted in order to be successful on land instead of on the water. I think it's a really interesting video, and there's some cool crab fights and stuff. But take a look at that. I'll include the link underneath so you don't have to watch it from here. But that's where we're going to pause ourselves here today. Next time I see you, we're going to do a crayfish dissection. We'll look at an arthropod, look at pieces like its exoskeleton and jointed limbs. We'll try and find its big brain and all that kind of cool stuff. In the meantime, if you have any questions, I'm in the Zoom. Come pop on in and we'll chat. All right, that's going to end us here today. I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.